Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad you decided to tune in. Fans, we have a great show for you today. It was another organizational sweep. Every team in the Dodgers organization won last night, so it was a glorious Friday night. And, of course, the cherry on top was the Dodgers. They just kind of handled business against the San Diego Padres last night to take a commanding 3-game lead in the NL West, and they've won now 3 games in a row against the Padres. They've won 3 out of 4 this year, so that was fantastic. So we have a lot of great action to get to. But before we dive into all of it, just a reminder that if you'd like to help Dodgers Daily by donating, we do now have a GoFundMe account, and the link to that GoFundMe account is in the description. Also, if you like this video and if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, become a subscriber, and after you subscribe, turn on your notifications. Click that notification bell. That way, every time Dodgers Daily releases a new video, you'll be notified. You won't miss a thing, and Dodgers Daily will keep growing, and we'll be able to keep doing what we love to do, which is providing videos and content like this in the future. Okay, Dustin May was on the bump. He was really good last night. The Dodgers, I wouldn't say they were great offensively, but, hey, they did just enough to win. It was kind of a workmanlike effort for them, and like I said, it was an organizational sweep, so a lot to get to. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. So the Dodgers have won 3 in a row, 5 of their last 6, and 11 of their last 13. They have just been finding ways to win games. We talk about great teams. They just, hey, one day you may slug your way, one way you may pitch your way to a win, the next day you may execute your way to a win. And then, what I really like about the Dodgers, just looking at them, they're kind of getting that workmanlike look to them, like, hey, we're just going to go out and do business. We're going to beat our opponent, and we're just going to leave. No drama to it. Hey, no need for any kind of pep talks or any kind of, any of that type of stuff. Just show up, do your job, beat the opponent, and go home. Those are the teams that, it just seems like you're able to put streaks together better with, and, it's not just from one day to the next. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. The Dodgers seem to be that kind of team that are becoming more workmanlike in winning games, which is fantastic from a professional level. Okay, so the Dodgers now in first place by 3 games in the NL West. So if you can just split the last 2 games, of course, you'd love to have a sweep. We all know that against the Padres. But if you can just split the next 2 games, that's a pretty big deal, because instead of being down, up just 1 game, like if the Padres win the next 2, it would be a 1-game lead in the NL West. If you can just split the next 2, you would have, you would leave with that 3-game lead in the NL West. You could figure out a way to win the next 2. You would have a pretty commanding 5-game lead at that point. So, hey, the Dodgers, again, workmanlike last night. They did just enough to score. All the hitters, 1 through 5, had hits last night. We had the back-to-back home runs by Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. That was fantastic. Okay, and like I said, man, all you got to do in baseball and any sport, just score 1 more run than your opponent, and certainly the Dodgers did that last night by defeating the San Diego Padres in a big game there at Dodger Stadium last night. So, hey, it was a good game for the Dodgers. It was a good way to get the big series with the Padres started, and again, 3 in a row in the series. One thing that I really liked about the offense last night, we talked about all the hitters 1 through 5 getting hits. That I think, there could be some trouble with that as far as if you do that consistently and don't get any hits in the bottom of your lineup. We've seen the Dodgers lose a couple of games doing that. But one thing the Dodgers did do last night, when the Padres scored the 2 runs and, they tied the game up at 2, the Dodgers immediately answered back. Great teams, what they do, when another team scores and takes the momentum, a great team will answer back. Let's say the other team scores 3 or 4 runs. Even if you only just answer back with 1 run, just answering back restores that momentum. It recaptures the momentum, and it takes a little starch and steam away from your opponent. So the fact that not only did the Dodgers retake the lead, they also answered the Padres scoring, there by the 2 spot the Padres scored. The Dodgers answered that by matching their own 2 spot in the bottom half of that inning as well. So I love the fact that, you saw, like Dodgers, that's resilient, good offense, answering to the Padres one scoring output there last night in the game. So that was a really good deal that the Dodgers were able to answer. Okay, the Dodgers had 6 hits. 3 of them were extra base hits. We talked about the easiest way, the least stressful way to win baseball games is to slug. Of course, the Dodgers, they had 6 hits. 3 of those were extra base hits. 2 of them were home runs. So, whenever you're doing that, when half of your hits are extra base hits and a third of them are home runs, it's going to make scoring a lot easier for you last night. Okay, runners in scoring position. The Dodgers, again, second game in a row, they were 2 for 8. And second game in a row that they've won, and it's been pretty convincing. And so, hey, 2 for 8, like we said, that's not a world beater by any stretch, but it's certainly better than, some of the games the Dodgers have had in the past. And the Dodgers have been one of the worst teams as far as leaving runners on base in scoring position. Okay, of course, we say that's a double-edged sword. That means you're getting a lot of guys on base, but it also means that you're not driving them in as well. The Dodgers last night, they left 6 runners on base against the Padres. So, hey, all in all, it was a good night offensively. It was a good enough night. I'll say that. You slugged just well enough. And like I said, all you got to do is just win one more or score one more run than your opponent, and the Dodgers certainly did that. Dustin May was fantastic on the night. Okay, Will Smith, I'll tell you what, he's not one of the ones that hit the home runs last night. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, they went back-to-back. But Will Smith, okay, leave a comment. Is he the best offensive catcher in the game? I say unequivocally, absolutely, yes. Will Smith, in my opinion, is the best offensive catcher in the major leagues as of right now. He's hitting .325. His OPS is .1037. Okay, Will Smith has a 4-game hit streak. He's hitting .364 in May. He's 7 for his last 15 with 2 home runs. He has 4 RBIs in that stretch, 2 runs scored, and 15 total bases. This dude, since he's come back, from the concussion, he has been fantastic offensively. He's been a great offensive player. And, man, when you can get offense from your catcher spot like that, it just makes it so much easier to play offense because, there's so many options as far as going and getting guys that are offensive-type players at different positions. And then another thing it allows you to do when you have great offense coming from your catcher spot, it allows you to match up defensively and put a defensive guy in the outfield that maybe is not hitting as well as of late, but he's a great defender, and then that just makes your defense better. So there's a myriad of things that having a catcher that can hit like Will Smith does for your team, and he absolutely does it. Let me say that one more time. .325 average, OPS .1037. Okay, he has a 4-game hit streak. He's hitting .364 so far in May. He's 7 for his last 15 with 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored, 15 total bases. So Will Smith, fantastic job. Keep up the great work. How about Freddie Freeman? He hit a home run last night for his 2nd game in a row. He has been fantastic as well. Freddie Freeman, he's hitting .297. We're used to that average being over 300. He's been just remarkably consistent with his batting averages over the years, and we're used to that being as good as .297 is in today's day and age. We see the lower batting averages, the higher slugs. At least that's the tendency in today's baseball. Okay, even in today's climate, we're used to seeing that batting average being over 300 for Freddie Freeman. .297, OPS .879. He has 2 multi-hit games in a row. He has home runs in 2 games in a row, and he is 4 for his last 8 with 2 home runs. Okay, 6 RBIs, 2 runs scored, 11 total bases. The Dodgers have a handful of guys. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith. I think J.D. Martinez can get on that train. James Outman can get on that train. Max Muncy can get on this train. And what I'm saying is they have, that's 6 guys right there offensively that when they get hot, they can just absolutely carry a team and win a game for their team by themselves, basically. They can just go and hit, a couple of home runs or have 4 or 5 RBIs and just carry a team for an entire evening by themselves. The Dodgers have 6 of those guys at least, and on different nights, maybe even more than that. And when you have that, your odds are better of one guy having a great night, even if everybody else struggles. And, that makes a great team when it seems like it's a different guy every night that's kind of carrying your team whether it be offensively or defensively. So, Freddie Freeman's been that guy. Will Smith has been that guy. We've seen Max Muncy do it from time to time. Hey, Chris Taylor can do that as well. He has the talent to, have a really great night and knock in 4 or 5 runs and be the differing factor in a win for the Dodgers as well. So one thing you got to love about the way the Dodgers are constructed is that they have, many, many, many guys. Matter of fact, they can make almost an entire lineup full of guys that on any one given night can just really carry an offense. Not on just one any given night. They could also get hot and maybe do it for a week. We've seen that with all those guys. So a lot of explosiveness to the roster offensively for the Dodgers. Okay, JD Martinez, what did you think about his return? What do you think about Michael Busch getting optioned back down to AAA Oklahoma City with the return of JD Martinez? Of course, JD Martinez has been just a fantastic offensive player in his career. The Dodgers, though they have won a lot of games since he went out, of course, good to see the Dodgers did win in his one game back. You'd hate to see the Dodgers go on this good win streak without JD Martinez, and then all of a sudden they start losing when he returns, because it wouldn't be him being the factor, but it would kind of give that appearance to it. So it was good to see that the Dodgers did win last night with JD Martinez in the lineup. So, hey, leave your thoughts, leave a comment. What do you think about the Dodgers optioning Michael Busch by bringing back JD Martinez? Okay, Dustin May, he threw his 2-seam again last night. Like we've said, that 4-seam has tended to flatten out. We showed in the last time that he pitched, some of the things he was doing with that 4-seam and why he had to be selective with when he threw it. Again, he was dominant with the 2-seam last night, and then usually his second highest pitch that he throws is his 4-seam, but last night it was his cutter. Great adjustments by Dustin May. Hey, don't let a ball get flat. Don't let a ball get hit out of the park because you flatten something out on the outer half and the Padres teed off on it and hit a home run. Move every ball. And what I really love about that 2-seam cutter combo, okay, that 2-seam just has that turn to the right, the cutter has the turn to the left, and you're either boring in on the hands of a right-hander or you're moving the ball away from the barrel. Or you're, either way, whether it be a righty or lefty, you have a pitch that can bore in on their hands, you have a pitch that can move away from them. Again, the cutter turning left, the 2-seam turning right, and between that, if they come out of that same tunnel and they're both right here, and then about 3/4 of the way to the home plate, they split like that. The hitter can't see which way. The hitter doesn't know which way it's going to turn, almost by the time it's on top of them. Sometimes it turns in on them if you're a right-hander. Sometimes it turns away. That is ridiculously difficult to hit, especially if you're throwing strikes with them last night. Dustin May did a really good job last night. He went 6 2/3 innings. He gave up 2 runs, just 2 hits. And like I said, he was dominant. That combo right there, I'm telling you, when you're hitting 96 to 98, that combo of the left and right turn between the cutter and the sinker, that is going to be a combo that is going to be very effective for Dustin May. And then, every so often you can heat up a 100-mile-an-hour 4-seam and throw it up in the zone. And then if you're throwing strikes with your 2-seam and your cutter and you're getting a lot of weak contact, you don't necessarily even have to throw a strike with your 4-seam. You can show it up in the zone and try to get some swing and a miss out of the zone with that, something of which Dustin May did last night. So I love the game plan for Dustin May. I love, the fact that he's trying to move the ball horizontally to miss barrels and, to get in on the hands and to get towards the end of the bat. And that has been very successful for him. And another thing, he got momentum for the Dodgers last night because he retired the first 10 hitters. And when you can retire the first 10 hitters, it seems like you are the one that's on offense the entire evening. And that just kind of feels like you're controlling the game from that perspective. So Dustin May, he got himself prepared. He had a great game plan. He went out and retired the first 10 hitters of the game last night. And then he faced the minimum through 4. So, man, the Padres, after losing the 2 games last weekend in San Diego, that had to be disappointing. And then showing up tonight and having their first 10 hitters retired and only, sending up the minimum through 4, they had to be sitting in the dugout thinking, man, this really sucks, right? Okay, the Dodgers had just kind of squeezed the life out of them at that point. Of course, they did tie up the game, of which as soon as they tied up the game, we just talked about it, the Dodgers responded with the 2 runs of their own. So just everything the Padres have been doing, the Dodgers have either matched or they've one-upped, and that's why The Dodgers have won 3 games in a row against the Padres. And then, hey, Dustin May did a good job. Another thing about pitching is how do you work in crisis moments? Well, they worked around a leadoff double by Juan Soto in the 5th, and he got through that. Okay, and then Caleb Ferguson came in and got the last out against San Diego. One thing I like about the pitching I enjoyed watching was the fact that they complemented each other. Dustin May left, and then Caleb Ferguson. He left after he gave up the couple of runs, and then Caleb Ferguson came in and put the fire out. And then Caleb Ferguson, he got the first 2 guys on. Phillips got Machado to hit into the double play, and then in the 9th, it was a pretty easy inning for him. Okay, Evan Phillips. How fantastic has he been? I think we all know how great he's been. He has been just wonderful. He has 7 saves on the year. Well, here are the numbers. Here are some of the trends for Evan Phillips. Here's how good he has been. Evan Phillips, ERA 193, 7 saves, whip 086. His average against is 191. He has not allowed a run in his last 10 outings. Okay, he hasn't allowed a run in 13 of his 14 outings on the year. If you remember, on April 11th, he gave up 3 runs. That's the only outing all year long that Evan Phillips has given up a run. Imagine if he'd only given up just 1 run instead of the 3 in that outing. What would his ERA be now? I mean, it's already ridiculous at 193, but let's say he only gave up 1 run in that outing in April 11th instead of 3. He'd be looking at an ERA that is sub-1, 7 saves, best reliever in the game of baseball, hands down. So, hey, Evan Phillips, he has been just fantastic. Again, he came in and put out the fire there in the 8th, and then had an easy 9th inning. Getting Manny Machado, of course, that's a lot of fun. Watching Manny Machado ground in a double play to end the 8th inning, and then watching Evan Phillips finish it off. Okay, how about the defense? The defense was good last night. The Dodgers turned 2 double plays, and they had no errors. So I think you would have to be very happy with the way the Dodgers played good defense. And then also, the Padres only stole 1 base. The Dodgers didn't steal any, but I've said it many different times. If the Dodgers just aren't -4 or 5 in the run game, they are going to be able to slug and play offense and pitch well enough to make up for the running game. What they just can't do is just completely get their ass kicked in that area. And they certainly didn't last night. A 1 base differential, not a big deal. The Dodgers could probably overcome a 2 base differential, maybe even a 3 base differential at times. But hey, only a 1 base differential last night in the stolen base game. The Dodgers will take that every day of the week, twice on Sundays, and they will slug, they will play offense, they will pitch, and they will easily overcome a -1 in the base running department. So, hey, again, the Padres 1 stolen base, the Dodgers none. So I will take that every night out for the Dodgers. Okay, so let's rehash some final thoughts. The Dodgers have won 3 in a row. They've won 3 in a row against the Padres. They've won 5 of 6. They've won 11 of 13 overall. And let's do a little bit of math here. Okay, if the Dodgers can just win 2 out of 3 in this series, that just means split the next 2 games with the Padres. Of course, you always want to sweep. I know that. But let's be realistic. Let's say you win 1 of the next 2 games with the Padres and you win 2 out of 3 in this series. Then you win 2 out of 3 against the Twins, who are just a good team, not a great team. They're a good team. Somewhere, 2 or 3 games above 500. Last time I checked, they were 19 and 17. I did not see how they did last night, but a good team of the Twins. Let's say that you win 2 out of 3 there, and then you sweep the Cardinals, something you did last time you played them. You would then have won 11 out of your 14 games. You would have probably somewhere around a 5 or 6 game lead in the division, if not more than that at that point. So, hey, we know that Juan Soto is not going to struggle all year, and that the Padres, they're going to get hot at some point. They have simply too much talent. So the Dodgers need to create as big of a cushion as they possibly can. So, hey, let's go ahead and win 1 of the next 2. Let's win 2 out of 3 against the Twins. Let's sweep the Cardinals, and let's take a 5 or 6 game, maybe even a 7 game lead in the division. And let's get a pad going. Let's get some buffer zone going, something the Dodgers fans are accustomed to and enjoy having, something we've had, as Dodgers fans for quite a while. Had a lot last year with the 111 wins. So, hey, a chance to go on a massive streak here and create some distance in the NOS. So, I talk about chunking all the time as far as, let's break down your season into digestible bites and make small-term goals. based on those digestible bites, well, there's mine. 2 out of 3 against the Padres, 2 out of 3 against the Twins. Sweep the Cardinals. Let's have a 5-6 game lead in the NL West. Okay, like I said, one more time. Okay, the Dodgers, the one thing from a mentality perspective that I'm really enjoying seeing, it just seems like a team that is just starting. They don't need any one thing to happen. They don't need any one person to do anything. It just seems like they're turning into a team that's showing up, doing their business as professionals, and just beating their opponent, and then just going home. Just kind of workmanlike, getting their job done, and just getting it done and going home. And that to me is a mark of a team that is turning into a really good team. And then whenever you put in the aspect of it that they can score in different ways, and they've won games in different ways. I think, just the workman product of it, I think that's a result of the Dodgers realizing they can win games in just any which way they want. So they have the total confidence as a collective team that, hey, it doesn't matter what type of game is going to be played tonight, we're going to win it because we win games in every way that there is possible. So that's our thoughts on the LA Dodgers from last night. Again, the big win against the Padres, and the Dodgers now are in first place by 3 games in the NL West. So, hey, let's now transition to the minor leagues in the Dodgers system. All the teams won. Again, it was a glorious night, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's take a trip down on the farm. The Oklahoma City Dodgers didn't score until the 6th inning, but they opened up a can in that inning. They scored 4 in the 6th, 1 in the 8th, and 1 in the 9th, and they blanked the Round Rock Express 6-0 on the night. Drew Avens had a hit. Stevenduggar, he was the hitter of the game. We're going to talk more about him here in just a minute. He had 3 hits. And then devinmann, hey, stop the presses. We'll talk about him, but he had 2 hits last night. Neither one of them were doubles. He leads the PCL in doubles. Jahmai Jones had a hit. Patrick Mazika, the catcher, had a hit. Mazika, I should say, had a hit. And then Bradley Zimmer had a hit as well. Pitching-wise, mattandriese, who you're seeing right here, he went 6 innings. He gave up 2 hits, had 6 Ks. So mattandriese was good last night for AAA Oklahoma City. A really good start for him. I've talked about, hey, if the Dodgers ever want to dive into, for that 5th starter spot, their pool of guys who have major league experience at the AAA level, I think he would be the first guy that the Dodgers would choose. I'm not saying they would ever do that or that would ever be the route they go, but I do think if they are sitting in their war room, they go, hey, let's bring up one of our guys that has major league experience on the AAA roster as far as a pitcher goes, and as a starting pitcher, I think the first guy, like I said, they would choose would be mattandriese, who had a good night last night. You're seeing him right here. He went 6 innings. He gave up just 2 hits and had 6 Ks and walked nobody. So, you'd be getting a guy, if you ever did bring him up, that, has major league experience. He has an ERA of a little bit over 4 at the major league level, and a guy that's going to make the other opponent beat them, and the ability to have strikeouts as well and extend. We saw the 6 innings last night. Mark Washington, we're going to get into him here in a minute. He threw 2 scoreless innings as well, and alexvesia threw a scoreless inning for AAA Oklahoma City. So, again, a big win for Oklahoma City. They won 6-0 last night against the Round Rock Express, the AAA affiliates of the Texas Rangers. Mark Washington went 2 scoreless innings, which is his 3rd scoreless outing in his last 4 appearances. Wash, as I like to call him, very versatile. One thing I really like about him, kind of like Nick Robertson, hey, he could be an opener. He could go, he was a starter at times in his past, so, he could extend to multiple innings. If you needed him to go up to 3, maybe 4 innings, he could do that if you needed to. Last night he went 2. And then also, he loves the big moments, so he can be that, high leverage closer at the end, or, just get the high leverage outs in a game in a 1 inning. And then whenever he has just the 1 inning, of course he had 2 last night, but when he just has the 1 inning, he can max. He was hitting 97 last night. He can get that fastball with a 6'8" frame up around 98 with his extension. If it's 98, he's probably looking at 101, 102 to the hitter, because he's closer to home plate when he releases it. So, hey, Mark Washington did a good job last night for AAA Oklahoma City. Alexvesia threw a 2nd scoreless outing in a row last night. This one was a lot easier than the one before last night, because the one before last night, he gave up 2 hits. He walked a guy. He had the bases loaded. He worked around it. So, hey, that was good to see him there. But last night, was a lot easier for him. He had a strikeout, did not walk anybody. He gave up no hits. So it was a lot less stressful for alexvesia on his way back to trying to get it back on top of his game, recapture his greatness from last year to get himself back to Los Angeles. So like I said, this is his second consecutive scoreless outing in a row. His first one, that was pretty easy for him last night. Of course, nothing's ever easy in the game. So when I say that, that's relative. And so if you go to my social medias and you want to see alexvesia from last night, of course, we've gotten to most of them here, but I have every pitch of his outing from last night on my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The AA Tulsa Drillers inside beautiful One Oak Stadium in T-Town, Drillville last night, Tulsa, Oklahoma. They opened up a can on the AA affiliates of the St. Louis Cardinals. The Springfield Cardinals, 10-5. Tulsa did not waste any time. Last night, they scored 1 in the first and 2 in the second, so they had a 6-1 lead after the second inning. They scored another one in the fourth and 3 in the eighth to win 10-5. Offensively last night for the AA Tulsa Drillers, jorbitvivas had 2 hits. Andypages, we're going to talk about all these guys, but he had 3 hits as well. Imanolvargas, the machine, he had 3 more hits last night for AA Tulsa. Diego Cartaya had a home run we're going to see here in a minute, so stay tuned for that. And Carson Taylor, we're going to cover him individually as well. He had 2 more hits last night. He is heating up. You're seeing him at catcher right there. The pitcher you're seeing, Knack. I'll tell you what, man, there were times last night where he looked better than he ever has. He was releasing the ball better than he ever has. As good as he's been in the past for the Dodgers, last night at times I think he was at his best. Look at that slider right there. You saw that the 4-seam up in the zone and the slider to end the inning as far as the 5th inning goes. So Knack went 5 innings last night. He gave up 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, and no walks. I always talk about Knack. Look at that changeup right there, just weak contact. The thing about him, 4 pitches, and like I always say about him, what gives him a chance to be a really good pitcher at the major league level is that he can throw all 4 pitches for strikes. Well, how about no walks last night in 5 innings? And so anytime you can throw 4 pitches, the hitter never knows what's coming, and you can hit 96, 90. Look at that slider right there. Fantastic pitch. That was the one I was talking about a minute ago. You can throw 4 pitches. The hitter never knows what's coming. They have to swing at it because it's in the zone. You're going to get a lot of contact, weak contact like that right there. You're going to get a lot of swing and miss like he had last night with the 4 strikeouts. And you're going to be very effective at any level on earth, especially when you can locate like Knack, and you have the confidence. And you're hitting 97. 96, 97, which he is doing right now for AA Tulsa. I mean, AAA Oklahoma City. I mean, AA Tulsa. Okay, AA Tulsa. Yeah, he's still in AA Tulsa. I kid. Knack, I think, is primed and ready for a promotion to AAA Oklahoma City any day now. I said that about Jake Pilarski on my last show, and lo and behold, the next day he got moved up. That was just absolute pure coincidence. Trust me, I have no inside information, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it out. And even if I had somebody that would give me that information, I wouldn't ask them because it's none of my business. I just like to speculate and have a good time on Dodgers Daily and talk about those things. So Knack, he was absolutely terrific last night. Tannerdodson had another scoreless inning. Benharris went scoreless in his 1 inning. Trevor Betancourt came in and he threw 1 inning and gave up a run. And then Jack Little came in to finish the night off. And again, the AA Drillers won 10-5. Well, jorbitvivas, if you remember, he had like a 9 million game hit streak to start the season this year. It was unbelievable how good of offense he had played. He's cooled down just a touch, which, I mean, nobody can stay at the pace he was at. He was hitting like 500, something like that, after his first 15 games. He had 2 hits last night for AA Tulsa. His average now is .313. His OPS is .943. Vivas hit .346 in April, and he has 3 multi-hit games so far in May. So like I said, got off to the great start, and he is continuing to hit for AA Tulsa, the young man who is on the 40-man roster. Couple of really exciting things as far as Dodgers prospects fans go last night for Andypages. First of all, he had 3 hits, and that is fantastic. We like to see the top prospects in the organization play well. Pages is the 6th prospect in the Dodgers organization, and he played center field. Last year, whenever he had the 25 to 35 pounds still on, of course, he lost all that weight in the offseason. He only played, I think, like 7 or 8 games in center field. Mostly Johnny DeLuca, and then James Outman was with the club as well. So So Andy Pages mainly was a corner outfield last year. Well, with the weight loss, he is now playing way more center field. He played center field last night for AA Tulsa, and he is hitting the ball very well. His average is up to 298. His OPS is 956, and he has hits in 6 of his last 7 games. He's also 7 for his last 16 and 11 for his last 24. So he has been absolutely on a tear. He's one of those guys we talked about the major league level that can carry an entire offense and win a game by themselves, maybe even strings a game by themselves. Andy Pages is one of those guys. When he gets hot, he carries an offense. He can hit home runs. He can string multiple hits together. He can put 4, 5, 6 RBIs together in one game. As a matter of fact, in this stretch I'm talking about, he has 8 RBIs and 6 runs scored and 19 total bases. So good to see Andy Pages hitting the ball well. Good to see him playing center field. The absolute most underrated offensive player in the Dodgers organization, hands down, period, no doubt about it, no question about it. Imanolvargas had another multi-hit game last night for Tulsa, which is his 3rd multi-hit game in his last 4. I call him the machine because it's just like every single day he does the exact same thing. He gets on base 3 times a game. He gets a couple of hits just like it's coming out of a machine every single day. So the machine, Imanolvargas, he had another multi-hit day yesterday for Tulsa. He has 7 for his last 14 with 6 RBIs, and he has average up to 310. His on-base percentage is at 438. Like I said, he's a machine as far as getting on base, and his OPS is 882. What an unbelievably underrated player in the system Imanolvargas is. Tannerdodson threw a scoreless inning. You're looking at Benharris here, but Tannerdodson has his ERA down to 1.26 and has gone scoreless in 4 in a row and 5 of his last 6 and 9 of his last 11. So Tannerdodson has been fantastic. This is Benharris, who went 1 scoreless last night, and Benharris, the young man, the lefty out of the University of Georgia, has not allowed a run in his last 3 outings, and he has 18 strikeouts. Surprise, surprise, Benharris is striking guys out. He was the leader, I believe, in all the minor leagues last year in strikeouts per innings pitched. Okay, Benharris has 18 strikeouts on the year in just 12 innings, so that should come as no surprise to anybody who follows Dodgers prospects much at all. And Benharris has an average against on the year of just 222. So lefty out of University of Georgia, pitching well last night for the AA Tulsa Drillers. The Great Lakes Loons, I talk about how they're like an anaconda snake. They just kind of wrap themselves around you, and they just slowly squeeze all the oxygen out of their opponent to eventually their opponent just succumbs. And the Great Lakes Loons win, and they win a lot in the late innings. Well, they put up another 4 spot in the 10th inning in extra innings yesterday to beat the Lake County Captains, the high A affiliates of the Cleveland Indians, 8-4. Another one of those exciting late inning victories for the Great Lakes Loons. Again, a 4 spot in the 10th. They scored 3 in the 3rd. Great Lakes did to take a 3-0 lead. Lake County responded in the bottom of the 3rd with one of their own, so it's 3-1, leaving the 3rd inning. And then the Lake County Captains, they scored 3 in the 7th to take a 4-3 lead. The Great Lakes Loons answered in the top of the 8th to tie it at 4-4. That's how it stayed until the 10th inning, when the Great Lakes Loons scored the 4th spot in the top of 10 to win 8-4. Some great pitching. Who you're seeing right here is Ronan Kopp. He struck out the side in the 1st inning to start off a good start for him. He went 3 innings, gave up just 1 run, had 4 Ks. Okay, and the one thing you need to look at here, if you go to all my social, look at the depth right there on that slider. That was fantastic. Matter of fact, I had to message him and ask him, hey, is that a changeup or a slider you're throwing? Because that thing has some serious depth to it. And yes, it was his slider. He threw his 4-seam and his slider yesterday, and it was effective for him. Kopp has 31 strikeouts in just 17.2 innings. So, boy, as you're seeing here, his stuff is super explosive offensively for the Great Lakes Loons. Austin Gothrie had another multi-hit day. We're going to talk about him here in a minute. Dalton Rushing had a hit. Damonkeith had a couple of hits. Good to see him get going. Alex Freeland had a hit as well. Taylor Young, the young man out of Louisiana Tech, had a hit. He went 1 for 3. Lockwood Powell, Griffin Lockwood Powell, Lock as they call him, he had the big home run in the 10th to move it from 5-4 to 8-4. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And then Frank Rodriguez, I think this was his debut behind the plate. You're seeing him right there. He caught last night for the Great Lakes Loons, and he had a hit as well. Home runs, Griffin Lockwood Powell, we talked about that. He had a home run and a double We'll talk about him in a minute. Alex Freeland had an RBI, and then Dalton Rushing had an RBI. Taylor Young had 2 RBIs, and Griffin Lockwood Powell had the big home run as well for a couple of RBIs as well. So, again, the Great Lakes Loons, they won 8-4 last night against the Lake County Captains. Austin Gauthier had 2 hits, an RBI, and scored a run for Great Lakes in their extra inning win yesterday. We talked about it just a minute ago, 8-4. Tonight is Gauthier's second, or yesterday was Gauthier's second multi-hit game in a row. It's his 5th multi-hit game just this month of May alone, and it's his 12th of the year. Gauthier leads the Midwest League in batting average. Okay, sit down and check this out. Go ahead and listen to all these numbers because this is impressive. Gauthier leads the Midwest League, which is the league that the Loons are in, the high A league there, and he leads the Midwest League in batting average at .402, on-base percentage at .504, OPS, which is on-base plus slugging, at .1092, and hits overall at 41. This young man out of Hofstra has just absolutely started 2023 on fire. He loves hitting the ball the other way, and with power, Austin Gauthier. This is my man from Key West, Antonioknowles. Look at the depth on that slider, and I'll tell you what, I said it last time that we talked about Antonioknowles. Any pitch that is that good needs a name. You know, Key West, the high school program there, they're the Conchas. So, hey, I did some unscientific polling, and the name we came up with for that unbelievable slider, look at that thing, okay, the Conchinator. All right, so Antonioknowles was throwing his Conchinator last night, and it was just absolutely fantastic. Okay, it was big time. Antonioknowles is having a big time year. His ERA is just 0.68. His whip is 0.98. His average against is just 130. And Antonioknowles has 21 strikeouts on the year. So, hey, the young man out of Key West throwing that Conchinator. He's very proud of being from there. He's very proud of having been a conch at Key West in high school and that fantastic baseball program they have there. So, throwing that Conchinator, having a big-time year, Antonioknowles. It's been a bit of a slow start for hitting prospect out of California, one of the best young hitting prospects out of Cal Baptist, damonkeith. He'll get going. We all know that. He is a fantastic offensive player, has just a beautiful swing. He had 2 hits last night for the Loons, including a leadoff single to start the game-winning rally in the 10th. So you like the fact that he got that rally started, got the Loons in the lead in the extra innings. He also scored a couple runs as well. So, you know, just like great offensive players, he's another one of those guys that can carry a team for an entire game, you know, have 5-6 RBIs in a game, win the game by himself, and then carry a team for extended periods of time. He can get hot, and he will do that during times this year for High A Great Lakes. He will get hot here in a minute, and he'll start carrying some games and some maybe even entire weeks for this club. damonkeith is that talented offensively, so it's good to see him have a good night last night for the Great Lakes Loons. You know, anytime that you have a comeback win and then an extra inning victory, there's always a bullpen performance or multiple bullpen performances that you have to go back to and you say, hey, if we didn't just put up a 0 right there and stabilize the game, there's no way we have a chance to come back and winning. That was Christiansuarez last night. He came in, stabilized the game. Okay, the top of the 10th was great when the Loons scored all those runs, but hey, Christiansuarez, the 2 scoreless innings he threw in the 8th and the 9th, if he gives up just 1 run in either one of those innings, the Loons lose last night. So, hey, nails to Christiansuarez. Probably deserves the game ball for the job that he did. So came in and did a great job throwing that left-handed slider. My man Peyton Martin was on the bump last night for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, who won last night 11-1. They had a big offensive game. Martin went 2 innings last night, had 2 strikeouts, scoreless. A young man who was drafted in the 17th round last year out of Clemens, North Carolina. 17th round is a joke because he is just absolutely ridiculously good. Chris Campos came in. He gave up 1 run and 3 2/3 innings. It's a good outing for him. And then Calvin Batista threw as well. Okay, ERA on the year for Peyton Martin, he's down to 0.56. Chris Campos, 2.45. Calvin Batista, 1.80. So good pitching last night for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes offensively. Jose Izada had 3 hits, and he also had an RBI, and he walked. So he was on base 4 times. At the top of the lineup, that's really big. He was just a great leadoff hitter last night for Rancho Cucamonga. Rayndon Cone had a hit. Chris Newell had a hit. Thyron Lorenzo had a hit as well. Nick Biddison had a hit. Jorge Puerta had 2 hits from his first base spot. He's playing first base last night Dayton Dooney had a hit, and Kenneth Betancourt had 2 hits and 2 RBIs and was on three times as well. So, hey, all in all, 8 of your 9 guys in your lineup had hits last night, which anytime you have that kind of balance and that many guys, adding to it and participating as far as the offense goes, you're going to have a good night, something of which the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes had, scoring 11 runs and winning 11-1 last night in Rancho. So there you have it. There's our show for you today. Again, I told you it's going to be a cram-packed show. And, hey, another organizational sweep. This is becoming just kind of, one of those deals that we were becoming, expected to. Last year, I don't remember, maybe 2 or 3 the entire season organizational sweeps. I couldn't tell you what days there were, and I couldn't tell you exactly how many there were. I don't think there was as many last year as there already have been, in total for this year. And this year is just now at the beginning of May, getting into the middle of May right now. So it's been a fantastic run. The organization is on fire, and it's been a heck of a lot of fun to cover. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope you tune in tomorrow as well. And, hey, before we get out of here, one last reminder, if you'd like to help Dodgers Daily by donating, we do now have a GoFundMe account, and we have the link to that GoFundMe account in the description. All you got to do is click on it. It'll take you right to where you can donate and help Dodgers Daily by doing that. Also, if you like this video and if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily. Become a subscriber. After you subscribe, click that notification bell. Turn on your notifications. That way, every time Dodgers Daily releases a new video, you'll be notified. You won't miss a thing. Dodgers Daily will keep growing, and we can keep doing what we love to do, which is providing videos and content like this in the future. As always, thanks for tuning in, and go Dodgers. Beat the Padres.